up with reasons for why I'm feeling for you. It might not mean nothing to you. Having ends up fucking on you. Gotta give it up to you. I might keep it 100 with you, cause
Alright, welcome back beauties. You know I already have the eyebrows done off camera, so I'm just going to go in with a little bit of a brow bone highlight using my Ofra Cosmetics highlighter in Blissful, and we're just going to tap that on just under the arch of my brow and then move on to the eyeshadow. Starting with my Juvia's Place Zulu palette, I'm going to take this reddish brown tone that you see on the bottom middle row, and I am going to buff that into the transition area of my eye using a nice fluffy blending brush. This one is from NYX Cosmetics and it's actually one of my faves. Now moving into my Modern Renaissance palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills, I'm taking the shade Love Letter that you see here, and it's kind of a pinkish purple tone shadow, and I'm going to take this into the transition just under that red shade that I took from the Zulu palette, and this is going to give me a nice blend towards my purple tones because this is going to be a cut crease that focuses more on purple. And what you see here is that I'm actually drawing out or dragging out the shadow toward a wing shape on the outer V of my eye, and this is just going to help that blend once I go in and do my dramatic cut crease. Going back to the Zulu palette, I'm taking this purple shade in the bottom right, and I'm actually going to focus that in the crease of my eye, and because purple is the main color that I want to use here, I'm just going to pack that on by going back and forth from the palette to my eye with the blending brush, and I'm focusing the color in the crease but also blending it out because the blend here is the most important part of this look. And of course, if I haven't mentioned that already, this is inspired by a look that I saw on Tailor Made Jane's channel, and she was inspired by P.Louise, and the artists there are just fantastic, and I hope to have their level of skill one day. Now for a nice blend and to have a dramatic effect with your cut crease, you want to have a really deep shade closest to where that cut is going to go. So I'm taking Rowdy from my ABH Subculture palette, and I'm taking that on a bullet brush and focusing it on the crease. I'm not blending it out as much as I did the other shades, but I could have used a smaller brush here. I think if you use a smaller brush and focus it right on the crease, you're just going to have a really deep line close to that cut crease, and it won't be as dramatic. It may be a more subtle blend, but in the end this actually looked really good, so I'm happy with the turnout. Ooh, and now we're back with better camera settings. So now I'm just going to cut my crease with a bit of my MAC Select Cover Up, which is a very pigmented concealer, but it's really like thin and kind of watery. So I love it for cut creases because it's easy to control and it doesn't have too much of a caked on base for your shadows. So even though this is really sped up, you want to take your time with this step just so you don't get frustrated with your cut crease, and so it looks nice and smooth, you know, the line that you're going to have through the crease. And you don't have to take it as high up as I did. I got a little bit carried away, but it's okay. Just look at some reference pictures and pay attention to where your natural crease is or where the socket of your eye is when you look up, and that'll help you map out your cut crease. And so of course I'm going to take this toward the temple, draw it out dramatically because this is what we're going for today. And then after I do that, without setting that base, I'm going to go in with some of my pigments and eyeshadows. So first I'm going to go back to the Zulu palette and take this reddish tone, and I'm going to buff it throughout half of my lid, the bottom half closer to the lash line. And this is just going to help me map out where I want to place those ombre colors, but I'm leaving the top of that concealer bare closest to where the cut crease is because I'm going to pack on some pigment there. So taking my MAC Pigment in Kitschmas, which is kind of an icy lilac or lavender shade, I'm actually going to put that on a small flat brush that has a precise edge, and I'm going to pack that on closest to where that cut crease is, and I'm also going to drag it out to the wing of the cut crease, and this is because I want to have that following the line of demarcation between the concealer and the deepest shades in my crease. And I'm also going to have only that Kitschmas shade on the wing area of my cut crease because the ombre purples and pinks are going to stay closest to my lash line. Once I have that shade packed on, I'm going to go back into that red shade from the Zulu palette, and I'm actually going to buff it again to blend out the edges between that red and the Kitschmas pigment. And once I have that nice and buffed out, I'm going to go back into the same shades I used in my transition area and crease to go ahead and deepen that ombre going toward the lash line. So of course I'm taking that purple from the Zulu palette, packing that just under the red so that some of it still peeks through. I did skip the Love Letter shade from Modern Renaissance and the look still turned out fine, but if you want to use the exact same shades in the same order, you can totally do that and it should look very much blended. And of course, if you need to take a blending brush and go back and buff out that transition between your shades, because packing them on sometimes doesn't give you a nice blend, you can do so. Then to deepen the lash line area, I'm taking a flat brush and going back in with Rowdy and just packing that along the lash line and then blending it out where I see fit. Now I'm just going to pop on some lashes from Lash Kitty in the style Toxic, and I did line my lash line with my Inglot Gel Liner in 77. And then moving on to my foundation, I'm going to start with my Laura Mercier Candleglow foundation in the shade, I want to say Nutmeg, and I'm just buffing that out with a brush. Now this foundation didn't give me a ton of coverage, so if you want, you can combine this with one of your more full coverage foundations. And then I'm going to start with my contour using my Black Opal foundation stick in the shade Black Walnut, and I'm just buffing that out with a short stippling brush or a duo fiber brush. For my highlight, I'm taking my Tarte Shape Tape in the shade Deep, and I'm just going to place that under my eyes and down my T-zone, just the general areas I want to highlight, as well as my chin and my Cupid's bow. And then I'm just going to buff that out with a beauty blender to get that nice and smooth. And one benefit to using a more full coverage concealer is because, like I said, the foundation that I wore this time was a bit sheer. So having that coverage with the concealer helps compensate for that and give you a nice even or flawless base. So after I blended all of that out, I went in with my Laura Mercier TLSP, and this is in the original shade. And I just went ahead and set that, as well as set my jawline under the contour of my cheeks, just to go ahead and sharpen up that line. Then I'm going to go in with my Black Radiance True Complexion Contour Kit, and I'm just going to take that, the powder one, and set the areas where I put that Black Opal foundation. So I'm just buffing that in, first using the contour shade under my jawline, and then I'm mixing the contour and the sculpt shade to chisel out all the other areas of my face. So my cheekbones and around the forehead, and then I'm going to go in and kind of shape up that nose a little bit as well, and then that'll be it for my contour. For highlight, of course, I'm going back into that Blissful shade, and honestly, y'all, Ofra and Artist Couture have the most sickening highlights. They're just so blinding and so finely milled. I absolutely recommend them. I think they're the best on the market, so definitely worth it, but I love this shade because it had more of a cool tone. And now I'm going to go in with my blush from Nicka K, and I'm taking more of the pinky tone blush to kind of play in those pinks that are in my eyes and just softly add a little bit of a rosy flush to my cheeks. Now, of course, I went ahead and finished my lash line off camera with those same transition shades, and then I'm going to line my lips with my Bold Brand lip liner in Mardi Gras, and this is from the Party of Deux lip kit, so it comes with a liquid lipstick and a matching liner. So now I'm taking the lipstick from that kit, and this is also in Mardi Gras, and I'm just going to apply that over my lips to give a nice purple base. Then to complement the ombre effect that I have on my eyes, I'm actually going to go in with more of a pinky tone liquid lipstick, and this is from Tarte. And this is the Tarte Lip Paint in the shade TBT. And I'm just going to apply that to the innermost areas of my lips and kind of pat them together. And then I felt like I lost some of that purple, so I went back in with Mardi Gras from the Bold Brand and lined my lips again and then blended it out as best I could. So that's all for the look. I really hope you enjoy, and if you recreate it, please be sure to tag me on social media, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Yeah. Rock your world, yeah, you see. Never learn when to start, yeah, I keep it G.